War in the Heavens. The Warhammer 40K universe is one of violence and war. For the last 10,000 years, the Imperium of man has fought tooth and nail to survive in a harsh and unforgiving galaxy. However, this pales in comparison to a war that antiquity knows as the War in the Heavens. A truly colossal conflict, waged across the galaxy and stretching across millions of years. If any war could truly be called pivotal, it is the War in the Heavens. For much of the current galactic state can indeed trace its origins to this conflict. To truly understand this war, we must look to the far distant past, long before humanity was even a footnote in history. Our galaxy was ruled by an ancient alien race known as the Old Ones. Not much is known of the Old Ones, but sources agree that they are reptilian in nature and are practically immortal. Ancient to all sentient creatures in the galaxy, the Old Ones are credited to be among the first species to travel the stars, and the first to traverse the boundary between dimensions, first to travel through the Imperium. The Old Ones had even managed to transcend the need to travel the warp altogether by creating an interdimensional array of interconnected passageways known commonly as the Webway network. The Webway allowed for a being to enter one Webway entrance on one planet and exit a gateway on a different planet as easily as one would simply step between rooms. This granted the Old Ones a phenomenal ability to traverse the galaxy. As incredible as this achievement might be, it was not the only noteworthy accomplishment of the Old Ones. Believing that all life is sacred, the Old Ones were known to have created entirely new species, and they would actively influence the development of said species to benefit the galaxy as a whole. They would travel far and wide, and the Old Ones would eventually come across what could only be described as cosmic beings. These cosmic beings were energy-based in nature, and records describe them as feeding on the energy generated by stars, as well as the sensations of fear and pain exuded by living creatures. Bearing in mind the Old Ones' view to life, hostilities quickly erupted between these cosmic beings and the Old Ones. Now, while sources conflict regarding the specifics, all agree that at some point during the conflict, one of these cosmic beings had encountered an alien race called the necrons. The necrons had somehow managed to develop a means of communication with this cosmic being, naming these cosmic beings the necrons' word for star god, or Catan. Prior to first contact with the Catan, the necrons were known to live harsh lives due to evolving under a star with a high radiation output, causing short lifespans as well as relatively weak forms prone to disease and cancers. Attempting to conquer their ailments, the necrons had first sought the aid of the Old Ones, and upon being denied the aid they sought, the necrons would then attempt to take the knowledge they had asked, and they would enter a war with the Old Ones. Not having developed a form of faster-than-light travel, compared to the Webway network of the Old Ones, the necrons were at a distinct disadvantage, and they lost the war relatively quickly, being driven back to the boundaries within their own star system. Sometime after the defeat, the necrons encountered a Catan, consuming the energy of their own sun. Following the establishment of a rudimentary form of communication, the necrons convinced the Catan to inhabit a physical form the necrons would forge for them to ease communication between the two. Constructed out of a form of living metal called necrodermis, the Catan inhabited their new forms, walking amongst the necrons and experiencing a new way to preserve the cosmos. Learning of the necrons conflict with the Old Ones, the Catan proposed an alliance. The Catan would cure the necrons of their ailments, and in return, The necron would serve as the Cataan's armies, waging war on the Old Ones. Agreeing to the alliance, antiquity tells of the Catan creating massive temple complexes. All necron were to enter and be cured. Walking into these temples, the Catan had indeed kept their word, and they transformed the necron. No longer weak, but strong. No longer biological, but metal. No longer necron, now necron. Reforged into weapons of war and riding upon vessels forged by the Catan, the necrons launched a colossal assault upon their shared enemies, the Old Ones. Not having faced this threat before, the Old Ones were slowly driven back, losing system after system. The Old Ones grew more and more desperate, and in their desperation, the Old Ones drew on all their knowledge and forged new races to be used as living weapons in the war. Amongst the myriad of races created were the species known today as the Orcs, and most significantly, the Eldar. Designed to be psychic in nature, the Eldar drew upon the powers of the warp, gaining a key advantage over the necrons. Attempting to minimize the use of the psychic powers of the Eldar, the necrons had begun the construction of massive pylons across a host of different worlds, designed to repel warp matter as well as dampen warp powers. As the war waged, it was eventually interrupted by the appearance of an unexpected threat, a form of warp entity known simply as the enslavers. Hypothesized as being the result of billions upon billions of deaths caused by the war thus far, the enslavers erupted from the warp like a plague, psychically controlling countless entities and using their victims' bodies as hosts to spawn more of their kind. The enslavers devastated all that they encountered. Thousands of species fell prey to these creatures. The mighty Old Ones themselves even fell at their hand. Only a handful of races were known to have survived this onslaught. The Eldar fled into the webway, riding out the enslavers in a different dimension. The Orcs survived the plague by their sheer nature of being incredibly difficult to fully eradicate. And the necrons, no longer being biological in nature, were simply spared the devastation. After devastating all life within our galaxy, the enslavers are believed to have fled back into the warp, bringing an end to the war between the Old Ones and the Catan, along with their servants, the necrons. This did not bring an end to hostilities altogether. Following the departure of the enslavers, the Eldar emerged from the webway and continued their war with the necrons, as well as the Orcs still being an ever-present threat amongst the stars. Our galaxy is no stranger to war, but no conflict will truly compare in scope and duration as the war in the heavens.